My name is Mark Howlett, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at TWT Audio, but I'm also the Director of R&D for TWT Audio.
All right, welcome to the show, Mark. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're here at this booth, and TWT Audio is here because of you, sir. Because of you. So tell us a little bit about why you, or how did this idea come about? How did you go? Well, your background is audio engineering.
I started out as a recording engineer and a record producer, ended up in sound design and doing post-production for movies and television.
Okay. How did you end up in the education space?
So it's a long story. I'll make it short. Really wonderful friend of mine, Mike Garina, who is the co-founder and CEO of TWT Audio.
Okay.
He and I go back all the way over 30 years ago, and I was in hangout mode, and he called me up and he said, "I've got this company, but I don't have any of my own headphones. I'm buying headphones OEM like everybody else. I want to design headphones." And I said, okay, we can talk about this. And he said, well, you built a bunch of recording studios all over the place, so it's kind of the same thing. And I'm like, it's a little bit different. But so we started out, Mike had ideas, things that he wanted to do, and it was all about durability. It was about the ergonomics of making these headphones really comfortable. And then for me, it was all about how good could the audio be and how good could the voice capture be. So that's how it started. I came in just to help Mike out, and we ended up joining forces. It was him and Danny, and then me, and I took over the operational part of the company at the same time and started designing headphones from scratch.
Okay, and you're designing these headphones specifically to be used in classrooms.
Absolutely.
So that shift, you had to do a mind shift from recording engineer to classroom. What was that process like, and what steps did you have to take in order to kind of make that transition from I'm recording for and producing and engineering for great artists to now even greater artists who are our students?
And that's right. And that was the important thing, was putting myself in their position, understanding how they're being used in the classroom, what is the student's experience with that headset or that headphone, and what could we do that everybody else wasn't doing, right? Because there's other people out there. So my goal from the very beginning was to do it better than anybody else had done it before us. And it was also to think outside the box. The original model that we built was the TW100, the Ergo, and if you look at it, it's completely outside the box. That has that ear cups and the headband is completely tweaked like this because the human ear is not flat. So when you put something on top of it, it hurts.
Yeah, it gets uncomfortable after a while.
We turned those ear cups so that they sat gently on the ears, and so this was all part of understanding the student experience. Was you put headphones on me and my ears hurt after an hour, I can't concentrate, I don't want to do this anymore.
Correct.
Right? So that's where the whole ergonomics part of it came into it. For me, from the recording engineer side of it to the audio side of it for the kids, was I understood from a lot of experience how dangerous it is to expose young people to certain frequencies, because it gets very involved. But the bottom line is, young people don't need mid-range in their headphones because they have perfect hearing in the mid-range. It hasn't been damaged yet. Right?
They haven't been to their first concerts and things like that.
There's all of that, yeah. So we have a very specific curve that I've designed, and it is so that we carve out the mid-range, and I'll push the top and push the bottom. So the audio experience for them is very full. It's very immersive, but it's not hurting them because it's not beating away at that mid-range part.
Okay, all right. Now, what was square one for you? So did you just automatically start redesigning the headphone? Did you visit classrooms? What did you do to say, okay, here's my research and my data, now let's go ahead and build this slope and curve the way it needs to sound for students?
Okay, so well, first of all, it started with the ergonomics, which is exactly what you said. We measured a lot of little heads and a lot of medium-sized heads, and there's some big heads out there too.
Ones, yeah.
There's some big ones, right? So measure those. We also measured and took pictures of and studied the shape of the human ear on kids, and it's all over the map.
Yeah.
I mean, so all of those had to be taken into consideration. So starting from scratch, yes, we started from scratch. We did not take anything that had previously been sold and said, let's just copy this. There was no interest, and we didn't want to copy what anybody else had done. We wanted to make it the most comfortable, best sounding, longest lasting, durable headset. And a lot of the R&D was about how do you make a headset or a headphone that a kid cannot damage. And that's asking for a lot.
That's the hard part. Yeah. That's difficult.
Yeah. And that took a lot of, with me working with our manufacturer and dealing with all sorts of different kinds of blends of material, we have headbands that you can take and you can completely twist them and turn them inside out, turn them into knots, and we know that they will survive.
Yeah.
The cables, a lot of work. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours to try to find a cable that they could not chew through.
It's interesting that you said chew, because the cable, usually it's the plug-in point.
Yeah.
That's the first fractured part of the headset.
Right.
And then, as we know, growing up, you had to hold it at a certain degree in order to hear it out of both sets and that. So talk to us about because they're modular, right? These headsets?
This particular model is completely modular. So
Okay.
this particular one, which is the 300 series, this was a concept that, once again, Mike Arena, my partner, but also the founder of the company, he had this in his mind from the beginning. It was, how was I going to implement it? How was I going to design it? And also make it so that the students don't realize that this cable that it comes out, because you can't see it aesthetically that it comes out. But when you pull off the ear cushions, which
magically come off.
Right, they do come off, but it's very difficult for a student if they don't know about it. They come off very easy for a teacher who knows where to pinch and where to pull. So those are replaceable, they're cleanable, and they come in different materials. So there's all of that. But then the plug itself, which is, we know this is the number one thing that fails,
Correct.
The plug end of it, or they've chewed it. You take off the ear cushion, you pull the pin out, you pull the plug out, put the plug back in, put it back in, you're back in business.
So rather than buying another $35, $40 headset, I'm buying a cable that's a fraction of that price.
That's absolutely correct. And also, if you were to buy this particular model, the TW300 series, and you originally bought the 3.5 version of it, and now you have USB-C units, oh my gosh, we have to buy all new units. No, you don't. Just call up TWT and we will send you out, and literally anybody with a little bit of dexterity can change these out in a matter of minutes. You could change out your entire classroom to USB-C.
I didn't even think about that, because once you get invested into an ecosystem, or once you buy like the iPad and then they switched to the USB-C, and then who knows what the new iPad is. I've heard rumors that they're going to do away with ports completely and this and that, and so now it's just a matter of just switching the cable out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it'll always be like that, no matter whatever the connection becomes, as long as it's a wired one at this point.
Correct.
I will probably address that at some point, is whether I can take that plug and do something with it, where it could do something, because we do make Bluetooth units, obviously.
Correct.
Right?
I own a pair of the Bluetooth
Yeah.
ones, and those things knock.
Thank you. I'm very proud of those. I'm very proud of those. Those are my own personal listening units. I have a couple of friends who use them to mix their music, and they have music on Spotify.
Oh, really?
And that's what they mix on, because I love the way they're really accurate. I mean, it's a very good, accurate depiction of what you're listening to. There's none of that beats sort of, big boomy bottom and stuff. It's all very linear. Very proud of those.
Okay, so you and I kind of had a conversation off air. You said that you actually went into the classrooms and measured the decibels in the classroom and that in order to get that going. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, a lot of that was also my own common experience in life and stuff, because I still mix live at my local church. So I have to be very aware of, I've got 800 people in a room, and I've got to be very aware of that, right?
Yeah.
So and
acoustics, everything.
Right. And the fact that the World Health Organization set a standard for kids' headphones at 85 dB, that early on was a real challenge for me, and that's when I started measuring and trying to understand that number that they had come up with, I'm not going to tell them how to do their job, but in the real world, 85 dB, it's not realistic, because the world's louder than 85 dB. So if that's all that you can create that kid is not going to be able to hear. It's just not going to work. They're not going to be able to overcome the outside.
Correct.
So understanding what is it, and that's, once again, that goes back to the curve. See, you can have a louder headset, but if that middle part of it's carved out, they can hear incredibly well.
Yeah.
But they're not being beat up. That SPL is not hitting that eardrum and damaging that child.
So all that was done with that in mind.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was because I knew that you could do it and still have an incredibly great sounding audio experience, because for those kids, to them, when they listen, it sounds flat because they have the mid-range.
It hasn't been damaged yet.
Okay?
Yeah.
When now for older people, they listen to it and they go, it's not so clear to me. For them, it's a great, and as you said, up until the world of concerts comes into their life,
yes,
and they start doing that sort of thing, it works really well.
Okay, all right. So I have to ask, we're going to kind of take a little curve. No pun intended with when we're talking about the sound curve. In the world of audio production, in your previous work with that, who are some of these artists who you've worked with?
Yeah, this is hard for me because I don't ever like going down this path.
Okay, all right.
I was incredibly blessed. I worked with Elton John. I did 2 different albums with Elton John. I worked with Linda Ronstadt. I worked with James Taylor. I did Jackson Brown's The Pretender and the original recordings for what turned out to be the Running on Empty album. So, I worked with all except for one member of Black Sabbath. It's sort of it kind of goes on and on and on.
So you didn't produce and engineer for like local art. We're talking like Grammy award winning artists who you worked with.
Yeah.
And then turned around and said, our students need something, a solution for the classroom. Let me take what I know about audio engineering, about SPL, about the sound curve, and see, had I been in your situation where I was asked to develop a headphone, I would have never thought about the mid-range of a student and it being perfect. But you took all that and said, this is where we're going to go. We're starting with just shape of the head and how the ears, the placement of the ears to the skull in that, and then as it grows over time in that. So you were literally from the ground up.
Yes, but it was with a passion. I have the same passion today. I want to make that experience for these students, because when I initially got into this, they were using them mostly for testing. But then all of a sudden, COVID comes along, and I'm having to be really aware of the fact now and working harder and harder to make things more and more comfortable during that period of time, because the kids were now wearing them much longer periods. They were now in them 4, 5, 6 hours a day. It wasn't just going to a reading lab. It wasn't just for testing,
Yeah.
So all of that, it continues to this day. It's never just, it's good enough.
Yeah. Okay. Do you ever feel like, it's good enough, or...
No, no. I was just telling somebody today that the RTW200 got a complete redesign. And was there anything wrong with what we had? No, but there was things that, to me, if I could make a 5% change here and a 10% change here and a 5% change here, overall, it's a much more comfortable unit. What I call the V2 version of it. It's aesthetically a little bit more attractive. The boom is much more functional because it was very long before. It has all the same, the ergonomics of where that boom needs to land. I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm going to simply say that I was somebody who looked at where do people, all sorts of people have microphones connected to headsets. I looked at NASA and said they've got more money than anybody else, and they put that microphone right here on the astronauts and on everybody working in that entire control center. And I said, okay, well, they've got the money to figure out, and it turns out that we worked really hard, did a lot of down here, up here, up here. Now, if you look at every one of our headsets, that boom ends up right here, 1.5 to 2 fingers away, no matter what the model is. And that's hard to do with all these different size human heads. It takes a lot to decide where that's going to be. But that's like chasing 5%. That's 5%.
Okay. All right. It's very comparable to a student writing. A piece of student writing technically is never finished. It can always be polished. And then once a student turns it in, I should have done this. And that's not to say, like you said, that it's bad. It's just 5% here, the 10% here. So
it's the passion too. The same thing. I was a person who loved writing. I always loved that part of getting an education and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was always that I would write stuff, and I had teachers say, "This is really great," and I would read it and go, "Yeah, but the imagery here, I didn't quite get that right. It's not quite there." You know? So I totally get that.
Yeah, I totally get that. So I would like to personally thank you for your passion, what you do, and bringing your passion to the education field and education market, because our students are our number one creators, and education teachers specifically, they create every other profession in the world. They all come from a classroom.
They create our world.
They create our world. So to be able to take your passion and bring it back to the classroom and be able to give students a more memorable experience with not only what they see, but what they hear and how they interact with the world with the microphone, this side, the microphone, and the headset and the placement of everything. It just truly shows your passion is coming through with the product. I specifically have partnered with TWT because I love the product, and I get the chance and the opportunity to speak with the engineer and the creator of that product, and it's you did it right.
Yeah. Well, the passion runs all the way through the entire company, though. I mean, literally, it starts with Mike and it goes, there's no doubt across the board. Everybody is here. They do what they do because we want to make a difference. We're not just here to sell headsets and headphones. We're here to make a difference. The education, Mike was an educator. He was an IT director. That's how all of this started, right? At least a third to a half of our staff were educators or in the world of education, some way, somehow, some shape or form, right? And to me, mine's just a passion. I want to make a difference for these kids. I want the quality of their lives to be better, and that's how we do it.
And I think you checked that box, sir. So I appreciate it. I know you have a plane to catch. I do have one last $1 million question that I ask of our guests. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, I want you to go with your gut. I don't want you to overthink this. Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
Oh, corn.
Okay, there we go. Your team corn, so am I, man. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, well, enjoy safe travels, and I cannot wait to hear what TWT Audio has to offer in the future.
Yeah, we're working on it now.
All right, sounds good, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks.